I'm studying electrogravitics. Gonna take a look, crack open this patent. Let's finally get into this one. I finished my psionics studies enough. I'll get back to that. I just kind of had a boost in my spirits and decided to really crack open one of these electrogravitic ones, and got a bunch of equipment, electromagnets and all the things that I would totally need to make probably at least one of the portions of the patents that are in this super patent. And this is what is this? This is the US 2012 0092107A1. That's the name of the patent. It's open, it's public domain. So the patents are public domain. So you're just like download them, take a look, learn how this works. Really something else. So I don't know how long they're gonna let that be public domain, but we'll see. I know I want to know how to make these things. I'm getting some nice music set up. Let's get let's see, what do I want? I want music made out of lo-fi. There it is. So let's take a look. And while I do this, I just took notes on inventory of my components, and I have to teach myself all of these things and learn all of it. Some of these I don't even think they're like technology. I think they're like brands. I gotta learn all these different things because I got this pack for all the electronics that I need in order to do this electrogravitic study. So right now I'm probably just gonna copy some drawings, and that I learn a lot better with drawings. So let's see if we can get you guys a better side view. Yeah, this feels better. It makes it easier for me to see. It's like practically like right in my face, but like not in my face. And so I go, hey there. So I can I already copied them, print them out. So, oh yeah, I'll copy them. This is what's gonna happen. So this is just more like my angle of sight. So just gonna copy this big, big important one in the front. And so I already read a little bit. And so basically how these electrogravitics work, from what it said, is you just put the north end of magnets together, and that apparently creates some sort of propulsion. And that's how apparently that works. And that's exactly what's going on. It doesn't have to be an electromagnet. It can be a regular magnet. But the electromagnet's nice because then you can control how fast or slow your anti-gravity propulsion works. And so once again, this is like these are real patents. You can download them because of the declassification of everything. And this has to do with the reason why this is happening is because Space Force finally got it's revealed that Space Force is real. What people don't know is that Space Force has actually existed since 1984, but they only just revealed in America that we have Space Force. But what they don't say is that it's actually a United Earth Alliance. There's an Earth Alliance, and that's what's going on. And it's so hard to believe because of all the brainwashing, but over time we'll get there, and we might even hear about it sometime, maybe hear something as soon as September 17th. We'll find out. I don't know if that's really going to be the case. I think it's going to be in December. So I'm just going to stick with this for now. And once again, these patents are like on Google. Like Google has it on Google Patents. And then there's like copies of the patents on like various websites like FBI.gov and CIA.gov. And then there's, earlier I was studying what's called Psionics. And so Psionics, I'll tell you, there's Psionics, and then there's These are the two I specialize in. Electrogravitics. And it's pretty straightforward. Electrogravitics is just electric gravity. And that's all it means. And then there's psionics, which is psychic or psychological electronics. So it's basically electronics that messed with your psychology, and they're wireless, and so you can do this with just what's called starts with microwaves. You can send microwaves, and not the same type that's inside your microwave oven. That's a very specific wavelength for water molecules. And so there's like H2O, H2O, and that's the way that works is that the wavelength of the light, microwave light, is the size of the water molecule, and that's how a microwave oven works. Well, check this out. If the wavelength is the size of your head, then that's the size of your brain wave. That's your brain. It's actually it's cool because you can divide it by half, and that's really where it's at. And there's a patent called, one of these patents are for putting sound into your head. And there's a particular wavelength for that, which is 1.245 gigahertz. And that particular wavelength is sound in head. And if you notice, if you get, hold on, I got a device for this. It's right over here because I'm still learning how to use it. But I already did this research. So if you get one of these babies, one of these puppies, with an antenna, so just gonna, can't see the antenna, but it's really long. So but basically, when you get one of these lovely devices, and you can, this is called a radio, software-defined radio. It allows you to control all of the frequencies you need in order to create any frequency you want, or read or sense any frequency you want. And so with this, you can actually sense in your local area whether or not there is a 1.245 gigahertz frequency. And lo and behold, in my area, there's a steady stream of 1.245 gigahertz. And the patent for psionics specifically states that that's the one for putting sound inside your head. And it's just a steady stream all the time. I'm not sure where they're coming from, but it's not coming from the Wi-Fi, because the Wi-Fi is 2.4 gigahertz. And interestingly enough, if you divide 2.4, you get 1.2, right? And look at that. It's so close that it's almost the same. And so with this, you can do what's called binaural beats. And so you got your head, right? And so let's somebody with bigger cheeks. So a bigger cheeked person. It's a bigger head person. Big head, big cheeks. Let's give them a nose and a mouth. And you can put a 2.4 gigahertz over here and a 1.2, and that the binary beats or something like that. I forgot the full term, but basically these work together to induce a much stronger effect on your brainwave, because there's one frequency that's this wavelength, right? And then there's another frequency coming in, which is half that. And that allows you to completely modulate brainwave patterns. And that's how mind control works. That you could put sound inside your head, but you can do a lot more than that. You can do like all sorts of crazy things, like changing your behavior, changing the way you animate. They can make you act at the moments they choose. So they can basically just say, do action. This is the symbol for action, and that's also the frequency pattern. So they do this, and they induce this frequency pattern that looks like this, and that'll make you act more. And so you'll be more willing to do something. And they'll just watch. So let's say they're watching you and they're like, oh, we want that one guy to do it. And they have there's a directional frequency modulator. I know I'm doing psionics and I said electrogravitics, but we'll get to it. I just want to just talking about it. It feels good talking about, it's real technology. Like it's all very real. So once again, if you weren't here earlier, I mean, like, I've already used this device to totally prove to me that there's EMF frequencies in my area that match this frequency, which is the sound in your head mind control frequency, and for one of the major patents released by the CIA. So that's some serious. So let's see. I'm not going to get too much into mind control because I'm more into the defense against mind control technology, and that's something special where you basically create these discs. There's a lot of ways to do it, but you can create a disc that kind of looks like that. Once again, let's put your head here, and I like big cheeks. Let's say it's a cat person, even. It's like it's a nice pussy cat. So you could put these discs that are filled with this magnetohydrodynamic fluid, MHDF, and it's dynamic fluid. And there's another word for that. There's a type. This is a variety of fluids that are like this. One of them that's kind of like that is, it's not necessarily exactly like this, but there's another fluid called ferrofluid. And that's a fluid you can use to do this sort of thing where you fill these discs with this fluid, and depending on how you modulate the fluid inside the discs, you can actually counteract this mind control frequency, and it operates as a mind control frequency sink, and it sinks. And I don't mean when I say sink, I mean a sink, not sync. So it's not, it doesn't, I could synchronize it if I wanted to, you could do that. It's no different from noise cancelers, but I'm talking about a sync where it absorbs the frequencies so it doesn't go into your head. And that means that you can walk around free of mind control, free of this invasive psionic mind control frequency that they blast everywhere from the towers. The towers, the towers that look like this they're called prism towers. They don't call them prism towers in our, like for civilians, but these are freaking prism towers, and they're directional. And so that means that every single one of these little pylons on these 5G towers, these prism towers, has a direction. You can direct it. And that means that you can say, let's do a top view with one of these towers. How these prism towers work is, if you only want to do this 30 degrees area and target these 5 people in this area, but you don't want to target these people over here, well, you can do that because the prism tower has these pylons that are specifically placed on the top of them that are aimed at 30-degree intervals. And there's various types. You can have 30 degrees, you can have, and I'm only remembering the ones that were on sale. I know you can make pretty much any degree set, 60 degrees, 90 degrees, etc. Right? And then you can just have an omnidirectional one in the center, and that's a 360 degrees. And that's the idea. They want to cover 360 degrees, and I can hear the things now. It's like, oh, but those are for cell phone towers. And that thing is, that's the killer part. They are. These prism towers, these 5G towers, totally work as cell phone towers too. And that's the cover. But what they don't tell you is in the base station, there's this, these little parts over here that are for the cell phone conduit, and then you have your cell phone power component. I mean, look how technical I'm drawing that, right? It's so technical. But then you have this much bigger box over here which has nothing to do with any of those components. And this stuff, that's what's doing this stuff. It's the same exact technology, but it's using it for a completely different thing. So these towers are multifunctional. It can simultaneously do cell phone communications as well as these mind control frequencies. And you can do a lot of horrible things with these, like you can melt people's brains. If you turn this frequency, like you set it to this frequency, and this is like a voltage, it's like a voltage, but it's different. You can set that to a very high amps. And if the amps are really, really, really high, that we're talking about something that can melt your brains, like for real. And it'll drive. And if you don't do it so high, it's just freaking annoying, and you can just hear clicks. Maybe even clicks at like random intervals just to drive you crazy. And that'll kill you too, because you probably, and this is a problem in China. China's doing this to people. And it's like they know they're doing it, and the patents are out there. And the reason why the United States released the patents for this technology is because it fell into the wrong hands a long time ago. And it's become such a rampant problem of the shadow governments of the world. So anyway, so that's how that all works. That's psionics. So that's pretty gist of it. So let me flip this puppy, and then we'll get right into that electrogravitics that I said, because I'm really interested. I know my psionics now, and I'll get back into psionics when I'm ready for another big boost into it. But in the meantime, let's figure out how to make a hover tank. Let's make a hover tank. So one thing's for sure, the way this works is we have magnets. This one, I'm just going to literally copy what they have on paper. And it's N, S, N, S. I think they can be reversed too. I don't think it really matters if these are S or if these are N. But they say, that's how the paper is. And so we're just going to go with that for now. And so what's going on here is that this creates a gravimetric propulsion. It literally is going to push outwards flux of spatial vacuum. Literally, it's vacuum. This is a warp drive. We're talking warp drive here. And I'm not messing around. This is not like Baby Time's warp drive. It's like, no, this is an impulse engine, just like in Star Trek. And here we are with like one of the latest patents available. I'm kind of surprised because there's all of these patents from 1950 which also talk about it for like it's called the UFOs that use torsion drives. That's basically a different thing. You just fill it with mercury, and you want to create a vortex which kind of looks like a hurricane. And by creating this vortex, you create this outward tug, which basically keeps you levitating at a certain height. Yeah, sure, why not? That's what it's doing. That's how it works. And let's say this is Earth, this is the ground, and there are these bands. There's these frequency resonance zones. And so you'd have a 1x. These aren't the correct ones, but I'm using arbitrary to get the point across. 2x, 4x, 8x. And so this way, you can simply just set your height. And so that's how it works. And it's setting your height relative to the Earth and the Earth's magnetosphere. And so if this is the Earth surface, and then we're talking about like the core is like way down here. It's way off the paper. But you can basically set how high you want to hover relative to the magnetosphere. And you're actually latching on to the magnetosphere as this torsion drive spins around and around and around and around, and internally. And that's how the UFO hover disk technologies work. And those came from the Nazis. Were the ones who were totally using these. But that's part of the classification. The reason why we weren't told this is because back in World War II, the Germans lost, but the Nazis won. And we were not informed that the Nazis won World War II. They won it through all sorts of internal incursions of all of the nations. They created secret bases all across the world. That's really how the Nazis won. The Nazis were literally invited into our country from the white supremacists at the time. And so that's why the white supremacists in America are such buddy-buddy with the Nazis in America, because they white supremacists were the ones who totally invited in the Nazis. That's what happened. And it wasn't really a situation where they were completely happy about it. The Nazis wanted absolute world domination. That was the point. That was the point. That was the plan. That was the goal. They had this all according to plan. So the Nazis were working with people in the United States who were dissatisfied with the leadership. And it's even worse than that, because while these Nazis were indeed doing that, there's this higher echelon where there were forces above this whole thing, earthbound forces, earthbound folks, human beings, but like a little more totally evil. Imagine that. More evil than Nazis. It's like, yeah, they manifested the Nazis and paid them off. And that's Rothschild stuff. And so that's part of what's going on right now globally is related to this. But we don't need to talk about that right now. We don't. The war's going on. We'll all find out like something really big in September. By the way, if you're wondering for a date, September 17th, that's a big date. Something serious is going to happen September 17th in terms of us being informed. That's some big date of disclosure. So stay tuned. Yeah, stay tuned. That's next. This week is getting real serious. So once again, going back to this electrogravitics technology, and these torsion drives are more primitive versions. And so now we're going to explore far more advanced versions, up-to-date versions, 2012 versions of electrogravitic propulsion technology, as opposed to this 1940s and 1950s version of the electrogravitic torsion drive. So now we're going to jump way far ahead. We're getting into the 2000s and the 2010s of the same technology, just far more advanced, because we have everything that, like all this new tech that we want. So that's, once again, electrogravitics, anti-gravity. So it turns out that when you simply just put these magnets together, if you put strong magnetic fields opposing each other, and the more force you apply to them together, it creates this propulsion, it creates this force of vacuum force. And that allows you to create vacuum thrust. And that vacuum thrust can be used in space, in water, and look, here's the patent. So it's for aerial, terrestrial, underwater, and space propulsion. And so if you're wondering where I got this is public domain now. They basically, during the Trump administration, they made all of these patents public domain. That was the D class that they were talking about. And that's what this is. And it's like literally available on FBI.gov, CIA.gov. I'm not sure if CIA or FBI.gov got this one, but all of the patents are available on Google. Google Patents has all of these. That's the kicker part. And so if you're looking for authentic US patents that I can give you the keywords. I see one of you have one of the proper icons to indicate that perhaps you're really good at net running, and I will give you the keywords. It's simply here. Electrogravitic propulsion. I'm just going to give you all of the keywords and propulsion. Let's see. What else? Electrogravitic propulsion. Is that even right? That's not even. It's an S. It's not a T. That's an S. English. Whatever. Let me try again. Propulsion. I think that's how you spell it. You know what? This has propulsion. Did I spell that right? Propulsion. Yeah. All right. So it's fine. Good enough. So just scratch that one out. This one, those are the two you really want. Make sure you look up patent. Otherwise, you're just going to look up a bunch of like hoopla and just kind of surface level content. What you really want is the patent if you're looking into tech. And let's see, what other words I know is for this kind of stuff. Well, honestly, those are the three words that you really want to look up if you want to find any of them. And there are so many patents. There's well over 50 patents. Earlier I was talking about the psionic patents that came out during disclosure. And so there's also this word psionics. They don't call it psionics, but that's what it is. And it's psychological electronics or psychic weapons because it's psychological, but it's wireless. It's a wireless, and uses microwaves to put stuff like sound inside your head, but it can do all sorts of stuff. You can make somebody feel anything you want with just sound. And knowing that, if you can then put sound in their head with like speakers, then you can also put sound in your head with microwaves by changing the electric state of your mind using electromagnetism, which is light, right? And so it's electromagnetic. And so the electromagnetism messes with your electric state of your bioelectricity in your brain, and that changes how you feel. And there's certain types of frequencies for that. There's 0 to 4 hertz. There's let's go the other direction. 4 to 8. There's 8 to 12, 12 to, I don't know, like 20. It gets a little bigger after that. But basically, there's brainwave states. There's like, I think this is theta, or is it delta? I'm not sure it's theta or delta. I should check in my other part of my base. The other part of the base that I built for learning all of this stuff and building my own spaceship. It's like, I'm serious. Like I have an engineering bay, like welcome to my, like here's my 3D printer for building some of this stuff. And so I'm really invested in all of this tech. So it's real, people. It's real. It's like the mind control frequencies are real. They're around us all the time right now. If you got one of these prism towers, or what they're calling 5G towers, if you got one of these prism towers in your area, you can score one of these devices. They're not cheap at all, but this is a software-defined radio. And this software-defined radio, with the antenna, you can detect this frequency. And if this frequency is in your area, and there's varying, it doesn't have to be exactly this. It's basically, if it's anything around 1.25 gigahertz, that's the wavelength of most average people's brains. And that's what you want. You want the wavelength of your brain. And because the brain size matches the wavelength size, then you can change the electric state using electromagnetic waves. And that's what these can do. And you can send many types of frequencies. So for example, you could send 5 gigahertz out, but then you can also send out 2.4 gigahertz, GH. And simultaneously, you can also send out 1.2 gigahertz. And see there, you get it's only a little bit close there. And they do it's this. I've not seen this one, but I have seen this one with this device. And so these towers are definitely putting out these frequencies, these mind control frequencies. So it's very, very real. What they're talking about when they're talking about these mind control technology, all of this concerned about the 5G towers is that they're so advanced, they're so high power. I'm gonna get a lightning bolt. It's just testing myself out now. They're so high power that the energy is enough to attack people. It's enough to mind control people. It's enough to target specific people with specific subtle multi-frequencies. Because see how we can get a 5G and a 2.4 and a 1.25 you could put as many of as you want coming out of these towers, and you can, because they're specific in direction, you can specifically target them harmonically, and there you can have crossover. And so, for example, this pylon has one frequency pattern, this one has another frequency pattern. They cross over in this region, and that has a special dual frequency pattern which can affect your biochemistry in an extra special way, where it could cause diseases or it can cause cures. Imagine that. You can literally cover the entire planet with a curing frequency with these things. This same technology that they're using for mind control is the same technology that you can use to cure all sorts of stuff. You can send out a frequency pattern, for example, that destroys viruses, that destroys bacteria, that destroys blood cells, there's frequencies for everything, and all it has to do is with the wavelength. That's it. And so, for example, if you wanted to target like little mice or birds, I'm going to do a bird because it didn't turn out to be a mouse. So let's give it like some wings. Little cutie birds. You know, you can totally create a wavelength. Whoop. That's exactly the size of the brain of a bird, and bam, shoot that bird out of the sky. All of the birds out of the sky in the entire area. Just make them all go away, or make them all show up. Maybe you can make them all horny, make them all angry, turn them all into zombies because of the frequency. Because you can change if they're in delta. This isn't delta, so one of them's delta, delta, theta. There's beta, alpha. Delta's actually a good one. It's a better one. So I think theta's the lowest. But basically, you can change their brainwave patterns to such a low dominant frequency that everybody simply just like becomes zombies, and all they think of is food, sleep, bodily functions only. They only think about what the body wants. They have no cognitive thinking. They don't think of it. And the reason that they can do that isn't just that they set these tower frequencies to modulate your body to prefer to harmonize with these lower ones. They can also set it to be dissonant with these other frequencies, to make it so if you try to think these ones, there's chaos in your brain, but if you try to think in this one, there's no chaos. And that's perfect, because if you want a population that's docile, you basically set them so that they can't go above 8 hertz. And that's Schumann. And that's what they're talking about with the Schumann. That Schumann resonance is actually it's a 7.83 hertz. So, and a plus or minus 0.5 hertz. But basically, if you make it so humans can't go above the Schumann resonance, they can't really think in any higher levels. They can't do math. You know, they're basic. You know what I mean? They're basic, and that's what that is. And so you can totally set everyone to be basic with these towers. And the question is then, so well, how do you do that with this frequency? This frequency is it's gigahertz, right? It's and I thought that myself. I was like, well, that doesn't make sense. How does that do it? Well, you can have a sub-frequency inside here, and that sub-frequency determines these hertz. So yes, you have this 1.245 gigahertz, but you pulse it, right? And so this is the base frequency, and then you pulse that frequency, and you pulse it at these rates. And so it's and every voop is at this light frequency. And that's how you get that to work. That's how you get people to resonate with only particular electric brainwave hertz frequencies. And that's the medium level mind control. And then if you want to take the white gloves off and do advanced mind control, you can change their nature, whether or not they're thinking with, you can change them to an emotional state. No, hold on. Let me do it. No, fuck, I totally screwed that up. So it's okay. So you can do it this way. Boom, boom. You can do spiritual, like set them to a spiritual state or an experiential experience. And so these are nature. And the way you do this is with there's a formula for it, and it's I'm not going to give you the real formula, but it's 1 out of 4. You just basically divide this one by 4 at whatever pulsar you want for this, and so you're basically just setting voop, 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 and then you're also vooping in patterns that are offset by quarters. And so you have, so what I mean to say is, let's say we have this frequency here. Okay, that's fine. And then we'll just, you can either, this is 0 out of 4. And then you have 1 out of 4, 2 out of 4, 3 out of 4, and then 4 out of 4, which is the same thing as 1 out of 4. And so that's, you change this offset, and that offset changes your nature. And so it can change between experience. So you're in a state of being somebody who's more about experiencing life in the now, doing things. That's a very fire sign kind of thing. Check that out. It goes right into that fire sign, water sign, air sign, earth sign all of a sudden. And now that stuff isn't, voodoo wibble wobbles anymore. All of a sudden, boom, now we're talking about applied metaphysics. Check that out. All of a sudden, now we have applied metaphysics. That's hardcore. So you can change them to an intellectual state. You can change them to a physical state. That's not how physical. And then you can change them to an emotional state. And that means you can change a person's reactions between an experiential or a spiritual behavior. You can change them to an emotional, physical, and so this changes how they respond to stimuli. It's even more than that, because then you can also change their modulation too. So you could change between these 3 versions. This is active, passive, and this is static. So active, if you change it, let's say you set them to a nature of spiritual. Now, let's say set them to an emotional nature, and that emotional nature is active. Well, what's going to happen is they're going to act on emotions. They're going to act emotions out. If you set them to passive emotions, they're going to receive emotions. They're going to shift emotions. They're going to, it's more passive. It's this woo, and you can tell because of the frequency pattern that it is, right? This is a curve. It's more goopy. It's more feely wheely, and that would be that one. And you can say static, so you can set their emotions. That's what static does. You set their emotions, and it's set now, and they're not going to change. That emotion is now set. And that applies to all of them. Their mind is set. Their physicality, they're going to physically not move. You can force them to physically stay put, freeze, physically freeze, emotionally freeze, spiritually freeze, intellectually freeze. You can freeze their mind. You can make them so that they can't think anymore. Their mind is now set to whatever it just was. And you can shift them between these. And that's what this mind control tech is doing. That's what you can do with these prism towers. And that's what the big stink up is. But it's so hard for people to grasp that, because there is this huge divide between the metaphysical, because nobody understands the math. And by the way, if you want to know the math of that, it has to do with how this frequency pattern looks. You see how this is wibbly wobbly? Well, this is a passive frequency, right? Well, you can have an active frequency where it's voop, 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 right? And you're still doing the same thing where it's voop or voop. I think voop and then voop. You get the idea, right? And then you can do the same thing with this, and so it's and it's the same thing. So you just change the nature of the frequency pattern. That changes how the frequency pattern behaves. You change that offset just a slight tad, and that switches which one of the natures that you're going to have. And that's how this freaking mind control stuff's working. But best, the good news is you can defend against it. You can defend against it. There's a technology where you can defend against psychic mind control. And believe it, psychic mind control. This is wireless, electronic, psychological technology. Electronics that manipulate your psychology wirelessly using magnetics, using electromagnetic frequencies coming off of these 5G prism towers that are hypercharged to be not only able to set out multiple types of frequencies beyond just 5 gigahertz, beyond just 2, you can set an infinite subset of frequencies coming out of these suckers, including the brainwave frequency for humans of 1.245 gigahertz, which is the exact frequency you need to modulate somebody's brainwave patterns. And once again, see that half mark? That half mark means that this is the size of your brain. This is the size of your brain, and now you're peaking the brain, and you can then drop the brain. See that? You can or you can do the same thing with this. You can soft it up, soft it down, soft it up, or you can go really action oriented. It's like act, and that's much more jerky kind of nature. And so that's how all of this stuff works. That's exactly what they're talking about when they're talking about the brainwave stuff. The prism towers can even target you because the pylons on these 5G wireless towers that they're building, that are everywhere, that have been there for like over a decade. It's way over a decade we've had these. We've had these for like 20 years. Mind controlling us the whole time. Targeted direction. You can target them specifically and so these pylons that you see, these white pylons up here, have specific ranges, and that's how that whole thing works. And once again, you can defend against it. There is a technology that they don't sell, that they don't want anyone, like the bad guys don't talk about, that I'm going to share with you. You can create psychic defense technology where these wavelengths get absorbed into these discs that protect your brain from these attacks. You can totally make this kind of tech, and that's what I do. And I work on it now. Hold on, let me get some of the plastic components that I've already built. Okay, I got them. So this is an early prototype of how to print out these discs that I'm talking about that go onto your head. This is actually a really large version, but in retrospect, after just drawing this, I might make it this large because this is a double-sized. So the idea is to take this disc, right, and fill it with, I have the stuff. This stuff's ferrofluid. So you fill it with this ferrofluid, and this is a magnetohydrodynamic fluid, I think. It might be an electrohydrodynamic fluid or a magneto. It definitely responds to magnetics. So I think it's an MHD fluid, magnetohydrodynamic fluid. And so I'll glue all of this together and then create a containment, yeah, that's the technical term. A containment donut inside of it. Fill it with this stuff, and then encase that donut with this copper wire, and then use that copper wire in conjunction with a device very similar to this, and then I can set it to any frequency pattern I need to defend against any of their frequency patterns. And then I can even put a central core that can operate as a projection thing. So it projects it out and then makes it so as they come in, it's a sound canceller. It's a noise cancellation device, but instead of noise cancellation, it's electromagnetic frequency cancellation, specifically engineered to defend against mind control technology. That's the plan. And that's just one of the many technologies that I'm going to be building. Once again, I'm actually today supposed to be teaching you and teaching myself, how does electrogravitic anti-gravity technology work instead? Which is an entirely different technology, but works on the same kind of concepts that this anti-mind control technology that I'm also building works. And once again, if you want to take a look, it's pricey. This is a pricey sucker, and you don't need this particular one. There's a couple other models that I can show you. Basically, this puppy, I've already done the experiment and proved to myself that indeed these 1.25 gigahertz frequencies are coming out of the towers. The mind control frequency is in my local environment, and I can sense it in the lab where I'm at right now. I don't have it plugged in, but I already did that experiment a while ago and then realized to myself, geez, it's real. I need to learn a lot more about how this works. And I did this big study for a couple months. Then I got bored because I decided to do a bunch of other stuff, and I wanted to learn how to be a better hacker. And I learned some of that stuff. I learned how to be an investigative hacker. Now I need to get now I'm going to learn how to, now I'm going to learn how to do this. And the reason why I need to do this is well beyond creating my own spaceship, which is on the list of things I need to do. There's another technology where, let's transition to why I need to build this thing. And so we're going to transition to the training center in the intersection of the base. And I'm going to show you one of the plans, because there's a lot of technology that I intend to make. I'm also going to flip the camera so that I can, I'm going to flip this camera, flip camera. Now you can see me. Hello, I'm Jonah Tho'ra. I do Jonah Tho'ra things all day. I'm going to need to charge this first because I don't want it to freeze up while we're doing this. Should have been charging it earlier, but that's okay because it's charging now. And, so this is my inner base. This is my inner sanctum and my training center, and that's just an art piece on my super whiteboard. Where's the thing? There's the thing. So one of the technologies that I definitely want to be able to build is a magnetostaff. And so this is going to be a very special staff. That's what I got the fluid for. The ferrofluid isn't just for the earpieces. I need to actually get like a couple more liters of the ferrofluid because there's a lot of other things that I can use that for. It's just expensive, so I can, paycheck to paycheck, right? And experiment to experiment. So the technology that I'm going to build with this is an impulse staff. And so I already practice in martial arts with the staff. And I've been practicing this martial arts in a custom dance format. And the reason why is because I need to be able to dance step to those psionic mind control frequencies in order to be able to control my own mind with the technology that I'll be wearing on my head and across my body. And this is going to be one of them. And this electrogravitic staff creates inertial dampening, which then I can use to do stuff like this. And so if you know, that was just an animation, but imagine being able to turn this on and then in the middle of the air, and then it freezes, it creates tension, it's hard to move. It doesn't want to move because it's harmonizing with the Earth's magnetic field, the magnetosphere of the planet. And so I can literally grab on to the frequencies of the planet based on the Schumann resonance at the time, and I'll have to have the right sensors, and so my equipment will have to be talking with the staff in real time, telling it what frequencies need to be going on, and then I can do trick things where I can suddenly freeze the staff and then use it as if it's like lodged into the ground, and then I can quickly move myself around, or I can do things like freeze it in place and then somebody hits it and that thing's not going to move and it's really strange, and then I'm free to move around the staff and basically punch them or whatever. And this is all part of this other project that I want to do where I'm trying to become a real life superhero. So that's another part of it. So let's go back to let's go back to the engineering bay. I'm gonna flip this camera. Flip this camera. Just camera flip. So that's the disc. Here we go. So that's why I need to learn electrogravitics, because the technology is all friends, and it just basically needs to all work together. And I'm doing this because I know that I know that I'm being monitored by Space Force or somebody. I know a couple forces are monitoring me right now, and some of them are really nice, and those are the ones that I'm letting them watch me for. So that's the idea. And then I'm also like, it would be nice if some people knew that this stuff is real, because it's like I've been working on it for over a year. Ever since the patents came out, ever since the NSA deputized all of the hackers online. So if you're not a hacker, you don't know this, but basically the NSA deputized any hackers who wanted to be part of something more. And we basically got the bulletins, we saw the videos, and it was some hardcore stuff. And I was a pirate hacker. And so pirate hackers are, you got your white hat hackers, you got your black hat hackers, and then you got your pirate hat hackers. That's me. I just believe all information should be free, and I just want to watch Lion King. Okay? I just want to watch Lion King for free, and I don't want to have to pay for it, because I already paid for it, and then my account got deleted, and I'm just like, I already paid for this. It's like, just let me watch Lion King. Anywho, so that's how the psionics work. Now let's go back to trying to figure out how this electrogravitic technology works. I already know some basic stuff, but we're really gonna look at this patent stuff, and I'm gonna draw all over it. Here it is. This is electrogravitic patent. This is an anti-gravity propulsion. It's a propulsion system for aerial, terrestrial, underwater, and space propulsion achieved through manipulation of the vacuum. And so that's just, warping space. It's a warp drive. It's warp drive technology. That's what we're talking about. And it's just magnets. That's it. So here we go. Oh, and the way it's working is you just take these two magnets, put them together, and you know what? I got some magnets. We can even demonstrate a little bit. But the magnets that I have aren't really that great for this demonstration. I think you need something a lot stronger and something that you can modulate at the right frequencies relative to Earth resonance in order to make it work properly. Where are you, magnets? I know you exist. I know you're around. Show yourself. I know you're here somewhere. I was working with you before. Maybe it's up there. Maybe it's in there. I don't know. I know where the box looks like, but the box ain't where it's supposed to be. Probably because I was messing with it some other time. You know what? That's okay. That's okay. We don't need those boxes. We just need to look at this beautiful patent. So that's what we're going to do instead. Here we go. Patents. Thank you. I'm glad my projects are totally insane. I have a great time realizing that I'm not crazy because I learned about universal symbology, which is like the biggest deal ever. Like it's like, what? But you're talking about psychic weapons and psychic defense and like anti-gravity technology. How is universal symbology? It's like, talk about the cheat codes to the universe. I found the cheat codes to the universe, everybody, and they're very real. I'll show you the symbols. There's these. These are some basic symbols of universal symbology. There's here's some more. Voop, zoop, noop. And then there's this set. This set is familiar to anybody who's Christian. You got your ascension, descension, top, bottom, center. That's what these mean. And look at that, it's a gauge. And you can do the same thing with left to right. And it's so, like, why don't they teach this in kindergarten? Like, well, if you really want to know the answer, we were talking intelligence classification level 6 stuff. And that's the kind of information that, kind of gets people feeling really uncomfortable, because it's terrifying to know the truth. It's really scary because our planet is in dire doom. But that's okay, because you guys aren't part of the doom. You can tell that you're not part of the doom because the AI lets you on this feed. Welcome to the non-doom part of life and frequencies of the internet. Welcome to an anti-doom TikTok, I guess. So like this is one set. Universal symbology, I'll even write it down in English. Universal symbology. It is what it is. It is a symbology where the meaning of the symbols are based on geometry. The geometry is derived from the mathematics that make the universe exist. And so there's only a certain number of subset of different types of symbols that are even possible. Some symbols you can do stuff like rotate them. See that? You can mirror them. Some you cannot mirror them. See, you can't mirror that. If you mirror it, it's the same thing. But you can rotate this. Interesting, right? So this is an example of one where you can rotate it, but you can't mirror it. This is one where you can rotate and mirror it. This is one where you can't mirror and you can't rotate. And this is one where you can't mirror and you can't rotate. But you can combine these. Check that out. If anybody knows what this symbol is, this is a symbol for universe. Some people say it's the symbol for God. Some people say this is the symbol for our star system. And all of those are correct. And the reason why is because I'll get back to the patents. I love patents. But I figured I'd teach. I like teaching. It makes me feel good. I think it's a service to humanity, and I know the AI really wants me to do that. So this means space. This means center. There's a lot of words that apply too, like its origin or core, point. All of those apply, right? All of those in the thesaurus apply to this symbol. Totally makes sense. Space, void, area. Area, I guess so. Yeah, area, and core, void, center, origin point, area. I know there's a couple others that this one applies to. There's actually a whole boatload. The squiggle represents frequency, change, chaos. It's associated with chaos. It doesn't necessarily directly mean chaos. And the reason why is because it's not, the squiggle is a squiggle of any kind. So it's like, that's a squiggle, right? That's a squiggle. All squiggles are part of this base symbol. This is a base symbol that represents all types of squiggles that you can imagine. And in other forms of symbology, this subset is replaced with this subset with the curve instead. But the reason why you use this one is because it's balanced. And also the reason why you set this curve one with these is because these are your modalities. These are 3 of the modalities that you can use in astrology. You can use them in sound. I won't talk about astrology because people don't believe it, but dude, astrology is real and you can prove it mathematically. And you can use some universal symbology to prove that astrology is real. I can do it. I've already learned how. And I suppose I can do that here. And why not? Why not? Because that's really interesting. But I'm going to finish with this line, and then we'll get to there. And the line represents a bond, a connection, a dimension, any words that you can even think of that might apply to this. A duality, because it splits. There's 2 sides to the line. There's 2 ends to the line. So you can have something over here and something over here. And so let's take a look at these. And there's more complex symbols like the triangles, the circles, and see that circle is the base one there, and then a square, right? And so these shapes look, these are baby shapes. Everybody knows that everybody remembers from Babyland, where we all came from. We have that toy for training babies where you then match the shapes, right? Well, that's because these are universal symbols too. And these universal symbols apply to the modalities directly. See that? And it's literally, you're just cutting it in half. Like you can see it, you can kind of see it that way. And these triangles are special because you can have orientation. And then you can add the line to these. And now you have nature. Natural elements. Right? And so now we have the 4 elements right there from universal symbology by just combining. And that's how universal symbology works. It works by combining the symbols together to produce more symbols. And you can do this infinitely, which means that you can do crazy hoopla hoops like this. Dupe, schmidt, schmap, schmiggle with a zip zip and dupe dupes. And then maybe there's a bip smap with a lit dupe dupes and another dupe, right? And perhaps somebody decided to put a wiggle and then a schmiggle wiggle. I don't know. this is how I learn it too. Like, I just play around. Like, I just let myself be like a little toddler having fun with it. And by doing that, I get the ability to just simply allow myself to use this light language. And that's seriously light language. Think about that. The language of light. Angels are beings of light. Angel language. This is the writing system of the angels. This is it's foretold in the books of scripture, and bringing it to that scripture land where like that's what we're talking about. It's the same thing. Universal symbology, of course, would be a language that is universal across our entire cosmos, and beings of light, like angels, for example, would be able to read and understand this. And it's not just reading this. These are symbols that define concepts in consciousness. And so all of this you can combine into more and more dense. See, you have these densities of it. Right here you have your first density. That's your first D, 1D. And as you add complexity, this is a 2D. This is a 2D, a second density symbol. And you can keep adding densities into infinity. And so when they're talking about density levels, these concepts of consciousness can stack and stack and stack. And there's a 4D symbol is, I'm not sure if it's a 3D or 4D symbol, but it might even be a 5D symbol. But the Tau is a combination of 4 of these symbols, and I can explain how. I didn't do the best job, but the Tau symbol has the point, has the void, it has the squiggle. See that squiggle? It's got that squiggle. But then it's like, oh, there's no line. It's like, there's totally a line. Because line, once again, represents duality, the divide, differences, light and dark, yes, no, maybe, certainty. Now, I'm not sure, maybe certainty. That is a duality, actually. But yes, it is a duality because it is the same as true, false. Now, because it's more like light, shadow. It's we know, we don't know. There you go. We know, we don't know. It's one side is the not side, and the other side is the not side. Sure. And so as a result, you have your light side of the yin yang and your dark side of the yin yang of the Tau symbol. And the Tau symbol thus combines the 4 cosmic forces of symbology of the universe. And that's part of this universal symbology, the writing system of the angels. And so whenever you're thinking about the stargates and what these aliens all speak and kind of trying to learn, that's how they do it. And they can do it psychically. And they do it psychically. Oh my God, I love this. They do it psychically. How do they do it psychically? Well, they use light to talk, psychic communications to talk. And this is how they do it. Because those frequencies, if you were here earlier, and I'll just re-explain it, those modalities apply to your frequency types. Because this one is like this one's like this one's like this. Okay, there we go. That's how their frequency patterns look like when they're hitting you. And that changes how your brain receives them. That's the language. That's psychic language. So not only can you draw this language using universal symbology, because the geometry and the mathematics of the universe enable it and support it, but you can psychically speak it to yourself in your own head and to others. And so I promised you nothing, and I said that I was definitely going to do a thing, and I'm going to do that thing right now. But before I do, I'm going to plug you in so you have electricity. And it's probably powered now, and that's good. It's good. You want that. You need that. Just make sure it's actually plugged in. Just plug that baby in. Plugged in. Yep. Plugged in. Definitely plugged in now. Okay, so here we go. So to talk about the astrology, what you do is you take there's three modalities, and you combine it with the four elements of nature, and you get 12. And so that 12 looks like this. You have this one, this one. Let me just move you so you can see it a little better. There you go. That's better. Yeah. You have this one, this one, this one. This is water. This is fire. This is air, boop, 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 air. This is earth. And then you add the modalities. You simply just apply the modalities directly to the triangles. And so now, boom, 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 right? Boom, 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 and boom. And now you have all four and all three combining into 12 of all 12 different astrologies. And so this one's Aries. It's a fire sign cardinal. This one's Sagittarius. It is a fire sign mutable. And this one is Leo. It's a fire sign fixed. And this concept applies to all of them. Here you have Cancer. Here you have Pisces. Here you have Scorpio. Here you have Libra. This one's Gemini. This one's Aquarius. This one's Capricorn. This one's Virgo. And this one's Taurus. And that's exactly how that works. That's how astrology works. And check that out. You're matching. There's math to it, remember? There's math to each one of these. So there's a frequency pattern to each one of these. So these ones all have a frequency pattern that looks like that. These ones all have a frequency pattern that looks like this. And these ones all have a frequency pattern that looks like that. And that's that. And it applies the other way too. And so you have these offsets where we'll just use this one because it makes sense for me. It makes sense for me, and so it should make sense for everyone because I am the headmaster in charge. I am the headmaster advanced more, and you should. Oh, it's ridiculous. It's like, I'm watching you, you young student whippers, snappers. How I'm older and made out of more old, and that's how I know more than you. It's just, I'm 34 years old. So the fire ones all start here and would be 0 out of 4. The water ones, yeah, what was the pattern? Like, what was that? How did that work? Shoot, what was it? It's one of the ones that I know is it's like this, and this, but that's not really how that works. That's one of the pattern sets. So that's one pattern set, but we're not going to use that because this one is different and it's used for a different pattern set. So we're going to use the wavelength pattern set. Not because this one's wrong, but this one's for different stuff. This one's just different. And so we could talk about that, but it's more esoteric, and I don't like esoteric because that's usually occult. And I don't like occult stuff because occult is very culty, and they hide it using corruption, and you have to learn its dogma, and that messes up your brain, makes you think stupid stuff, and not very healthy. Not very healthy. I like the science, but that's just me. Some people like the dogma. Some people like it a little too much and it becomes a fanatic. That's not very good. You could be a fan, that's okay. But when you could be a fan, right? Fans are okay, you know? But then if you go too far with being a fan, you become a fan-atic. You're like a fan, but you're stuck in the attic. You're going crazy in the attic, too much of a fan. So, right? And that's the thing. So, that's just me having fun with that. So let's see. We want to divide this up by 4. If this is 0, we need 3 in the center. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. So boom, 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 bam, bam, bam. Perfect. Yep, that's right. Just I kind of had to relearn it. And that's the easiest part. The easiest part is it's easy to relearn. That's one of my favorite things about learning how to do this. And you can learn, let's see. So the first one is going to be fire sign because you're going up. You're going up with fire sign. With air sign, it's going to be air sign. Oh, look, it's matching that actually. So I might have been wrong. Oh, I was wrong. Look at that beauty. Look at that symmetrical beauty. Oh my God, the occult people were right after all. So I lost some people with that conversation, and that's just fine because if that hurt, they might need to go off channel and think about it or feel about it. And that's important. That's important. Maybe I should look at it. I don't think so. But that's just because I'm triggered. Oh no. Triggers. Water sign is going down. See that? We're at the peak. Air is about the peak. Oh, by the way, air, when you're dividing it, you're talking about this peak. And the earth, we're talking about inside the ground. There's a boundary, and the boundary has to do with, are you underneath the boundary or are you above the boundary? In terms of a circle, like Earth, like our planet, are you inside the planet or are you outside of the planet? See that? And so it's relative based on perspective. And what is your perspective? Being here on the planet. And so that's our perspective. So this is up and this is down. And that's how that works. That's why it's up and down. It's not actually up and down. It's relative to your core. And once again, did I just use universal symbology to do that? Center core, your space around the central core, the surface which you walk on. See that? Isn't that something? That's how you use universal symbology. Like it applies to everything. Like an arrow, for example. Like let's take a look at this combination. This is an action. This is a dimension. This is a space. If you combine all 3 of these, let me just move this, but not like pull the wire. Okay. So if you combine all 3 of these, you get the Mars symbol. And so an arrow, for example, is the combination of action and dimension. It's an action in a dimension, a direction. See that? And that's what, and here's space. You have your space. And if we're talking about a planet with a core, like Earth is a planet with a core, and so it's a space with a core. We're not inside the planet, we're on the surface of the planet. And so we are standing on the bubble, the space, which has a central area, our mantle or whatever's in here. And there's your core. And so the same thing applies to this, but we're not on Mars. And so we don't have, there's another symbol for that, we'll get there. But basically, if you then say this circle with the line, there's a spatial dimension. Spatial dimension. See that? Spatial dimension. And then you can add that, it's a spatial direction. And that's really what the Mars symbol is supposed to mean. But then, like we blew up all of the books. We blew up all the books. And then the Vatican found a bunch of more books and burned those books and then killed all the people. And that's what happened there. So there's no more books that talk about exactly this thing, unless, of course, you're super rich and you have some of those books and they cost like, I don't know. I don't even know what they cost anymore. Like, just some of them buy it with adrenochrome, I guess. Good luck with that. Don't buy it with adrenochrome. Buy it with angel love. It's a way better currency. Angel love. That's how I buy it. It's a way better currency. Okay, so this one is the bottom, and so you have your trough of the lowest point, your base of it, and that's your peak. Your base, your peak. This is the down frequency, and as you see, the frequency is maximum going down right here. The frequency is maximum going up. The acceleration rate upwards in the frequency. And so that's your fire, that's your air, that's your water, that's your earth. And these are your offsets. You got your 0 out of 4, your 1 out of 4, your 2 out of 4, your 3 out of 4, and that's your harmonic range. And this has to do with this. It matches musical harmonics too. So that's how you gauge which ones of these. So you take that offset, and then you combine it with what kind of frequency pattern you want, whether it's one of these, right? See that? And you take one of these, you take one of these offsets, and then you combine that. That's 4 times 3, and that's your astrology. And once again, that's really what's going on with astrology. It was like, well, what do the planets have to do with that? Well, it has to do with, here's your sun, here's our sun. It doesn't have to be our star system. It's not just our star system that works this way. All star systems work that way. And so, let's say you got a planet, right? You got a planet doing planet stuff. Just it's a planet doing planet stuff. Planet. Pluto's a planet. Planet. Don't know if you watch Rick and Morty. So, as this planet's going around, it's got an angle. That angle is relative based off of a perspective. What perspective? The center of the galaxy. The galactic core is our point of origin relative. And so this would be 0 degrees. You move the planet around like over here, maybe that's 120 degrees, right? And that 120 degrees has a mathematical offset of 2 out of 3 because it's, oh wait, actually it would be is it one? No, it would be a 240. Sorry about that, 240. This one's 120. Yeah, there you go. So that's 240, this is 120, because it's 360 degrees for the full circle. And so that 2 out of 3 is a similar factor as this up here. And so that's part of what's going on. And there's a super symmetric harmony to all of these positions. This position would have the point is Sagittarius, it is the point between Sagittarius and I think it doesn't really matter. It's the point, it's relative actually, because it's relative based on the directional spin. So if it's spinning one direction, it's one way. If the planet's spinning the other direction, it's one way. But all of our planets are rotating around the sun in one omnidirection. So I'm not sure if that ever changes. I don't think so. But either way, that's really what it is. But this isn't the start. So you have your void, which is the opposite of our galactic core. And then you have your squiggle and your order. And in the squiggle, that's your Aries. And then you also have your Pisces. No. That. Pisces. Just for good measure, right? You know, just to Aries, just to make sure that that wasn't because I kind of totally botched there. That's a little better. You can see it. All right, so that's how that works. That's how astrology gets that inherent thing. And there are sub symbols. There's a higher density sub symbols to those for in universal symbology, and I can draw those too. And so I'm going to draw those right now. So got dun 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 dun. Boop, that's our direction. I love to use the spiral in the center because the spiral is another symbol that is a combination of all of them. And I can hear it now. It's like, well, it's not a closed symbol like the circle. And that's true, but it is spiraling around in a circle. And so that's also a case. I can imagine that the true version of it would be a little more like this. Like in Naruto. In Naruto, the anime, he's got that symbol. You know, it's the full combination. So let's go. So the spiral is spiraling in this direction. The power of the spiral from, what's that other anime? Tengen Toppa Garen Lagann. So we're going to show you this subdivision. So we got Aries, Taurus, and that looks like this. See that? And that's because what you're doing is this symbol is a derivative of this symbol. Actually, what we're looking at is Aquarius, but that's okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this Aquarius symbol, and then you'll understand what this is then. We're going to take the triangle out, and then you get these two. And then what you do is you combine that line with this modality, and that's what you get. And so now you got a higher density symbol. And that's, once again, that's how universal symbology works. And this applies, this kind of methodology for symbol creation and combination applies to all of the symbols. You have your, that's air sign, Gemini, Cancer. And these are the real symbols, by the way. These are the, let me just do a little better of this. It's Taurus. And Taurus, once again, see, going into the center, that's because it's earth sign, fire going out, water going in, air going out. And that keeps going. So you got your Leo, you got your Virgo, you got your Libra, you got your Scorpio, you got your Sagittarius, you got your Capricorn. I can do that. I can do Capricorn. It's always hard because of the angle for me to do that one. I bet Capricorns are much better at drawing at the angle. I always wonder about stuff like that. I'm like, I wonder if it's easier for Capricorns to draw their Capricorn angles than I, because I have an easy time drawing the Aries, and I'm very Aries, I'm very Pisces, and I know I did in reverse, and I'm very Aquarius. I like science. And so like these are the real symbols for astrology, or at least rather, there's a better way of saying that. This is a subset of symbols that are more accurate to the real universal symbols for astrology. And so they all, once again, they look like frequency patterns. See that? And there's all of this harmony to how they look relative to each other. Yeah, there, look at that. There's so much symmetry there. And the symmetry is geometrically derived all the way from this origin of these base symbols that we're getting. That's like how that's going on. So whatever the symbols from Greeks that we've inherited are occult symbols. And once again, occult means it means hidden. And when you occult something to hide it, you use corruption to encrypt it. So you use corruption to encrypt the knowledge in order to hide it. And that's what it means to make something occult. That's why they call it occulted. And if you notice, there's the word cult. So, and and when you say occult, it sounds like a cult. It's a cult that has occulted the sacred knowledge using these symbols, and they make everybody believe, oh, it's traditional, this is your culture. And it's like, no, that's not, no, don't be silly. That's not what happened. That's not what happened at all. And we could talk about that, but it's really intense. That's like, once again, intelligence classification level 6 kind of content. And not the easy to digest kind, the kind that totally gives you nightmares. And so we don't need to talk about that. Instead, we're going to talk about angel stuff, good things, because universal symbology is literally the symbology of the universe. And you can draw it, you can speak it, because it's sound. It's sound. It's frequencies, right? So you can make sounds, and it's not like A, B, C, D. No, it's right? You got these different notes, these tonalities. So all of these tonalities, all of those frequencies, the music is the same thing. And now I'm still new at the music, but let me just show you something that's like literally on my wall. See that? See that right there? That thing? Circle? That circle. Sorry, lost connection. So that circle that I'm gonna have to unplug for, because I really want you to see it. This circle is the circle of fifths, and the musical tonality, the musical tones, the musical notes directly apply to the same rules of frequencies in astrology. It's exactly the same stuff as music. And its personality, it's everything, because it's universal. You can communicate with this psychically. You can communicate it with sound in the form of music. You can communicate it in the form of symbols that you can draw, because it all uses the same geometry, same mathematics. And this all proves, without a shadow of a doubt, that meaning is intrinsic in the universe, and there is indeed such thing as absolute truth. And that knowledge that you have just now, that you just heard me say to you, gives you the defense you need to protect yourself against any forces who might use nihilism to recruit you into doing something evil. And so Satanists and Luciferians really don't want you to know this, because this proves that meaning is intrinsic in the universe, that we're all connected in this beautiful cosmos, and there's no reason for you to do anything evil, because we're all just different elements of the same cosmos. Totally unfair. This is the most powerful knowledge that I have ever gained access to. These are the cheat codes to the universe. And that's what I call them. That's my code name for them, the cheat codes to the universe. And there are no books that talk about this. I've never seen a book that talks about this, and I mean that. I'm not kidding. That's the craziest part of the thing. In my entire study of universal symbology, I've never seen a book that talks exactly about this. Now, I can recommend books that are not evil and don't have any corruption or encryption inside of them. I do have books that are like that. I have a couple of angel magic books, but I don't actually recommend them yet because I need to decrypt them, because they're also occulted. This is very frustrating when angel magic books are occulted, and I don't trust that, but they're definitely angel magic books. So I'm going to decrypt them, and I'm going to get there. But no matter what, knowing this is an absolute defense against nihilism, because this proves that universal meaning does exist. And it can be proven mathematically. Why? Because the geometry is what defines the symbols. The geometry is specified from the mathematics that make our universe function, and you can prove the mathematics empirically using scientific process, and ultimately this leads to the direct connection between science and spirituality. Absolute proof of science to spirituality process, and that's actually how it works. That's universal symbology. That's my primary thing. There's a lot more to it, and this is literally universal symbology 101. Like, imagine that. What I just showed you was just 101. Like, there's a 201, there's a 301, there's a 401, and I'm just trying to build the curriculum for just 201 now. I've already finished 101. You just got the gist of that, and that's what this was all. Let's see. We can even go, but there's more. Like, it doesn't stop. It goes on for infinity. But I don't know everything. And there's limits. And there's other things I gotta learn. But check this out. When you combine dimensional lines, you can get these combo symbols, right? And I was mentioning this symbol before and this symbol before. Well, check this out. This symbol is an ascension symbol. It means above. This symbol is a descension symbol and means below. The holy cross and then the unholy cross. And this would be anti-Christo. This would be Christo in their religion. And I don't really follow their religion, but when I discovered that the cross symbols are also part of universal symbology, I realized that what had happened was that this symbol became occulted, and what they did was they transformed this holy symbol of ascension, of becoming better, becoming higher frequency. See that? Higher frequency, increasing your dimensional frequency. And it's like taking a light switch and going and just pushing it up, or pushing it down. And that's what's going on there. And so that symbol is a holy intrinsic symbol, part of universal symbology, as all symbols are. That's the really cool part. All symbols are part of universal symbology. And so even corrupt symbols are part of universal symbology, and you can tell they're corrupt because they're a mess. You can always tell a corrupt symbol because it's a total mess. It looks like noise. It looks like dissonance. As opposed to resonance. And what you want is resonance. And resonance is the magic of friendship. How corny is that? But it's true. And ship. It's English. Our language is so occulted. I struggle when I'm crossing between universal symbology. Oh, hey, Cappy. I struggle so much when I'm switching between English and universal symbology, because universal symbology is not corrupted. And it's just like, then I'm like, oh, the letters, and I have to move them around. Oh my God, this is ridiculous. But friendship is magic, and is the most powerful type of magic. And the reason why it's magic is because, and the reason why it's the most powerful kind of magic is because when you combine two, you get more. You get resonance. And resonance is what creates the universe, and is the same thing and forms love. And that's what goes on there. And so friendship is magic. If you don't know, you're about to learn. MLP, My Little Pony, friendship is magic. If you want to learn how friendship is magic, if you want to learn applied resonance, watch My Little Pony. If you can't handle that show, that means that you need to watch it and sit your butt down and force yourself to watch it, peel your eyes open, and just grit your teeth and sit through those little ponies talking about how friendship is magic, and eventually you'll cure yourself of your horrible ailments all abroad. And I mean this, and that's what I did. I totally did this. It took forever. There's some episodes that are so hard to watch, like the Cutie Mark Crusaders, and I'm like, oh my God, do I really have to sit through this? Jono, this is important. They're talking about friendship, and that's resonance, universal symbology. You need more cheat codes if you want to fight the forces of evil. And I'm going to decline this. And so that's like what universal symbology is. That's why I'm such a big advocate for this kind of stuff, because it really, really saves the day, really. And that's like, once again, here is in a way that you can further use universal symbology, where just knowing about it beats nihilism within your mind to nothingness. It brings nihilism to an absolute zero. And why is that so important? Why is it so important that I say that? Why is it so important? Somebody asked about this. I'm gonna bring that back. And it's actually, I haven't even mentioned it. Why is it so important that universal symbology is a cure and a it's not a vaccine, because vaccines are horrible. We can get into that a billion years from now. But it's better than a vaccine, because it's a cure, and it also is a protection. It basically makes you immune. It's an immunolizer. That's what it does. It immunalizes you, and it cures you of nihilism. So if you already have nihilism, it'll kick that out. And then if somebody tries to bring the nihilism into your life, and we're about to talk about who those people are made out of, it'll immunolize you from that. So even if they somehow get you, all you have to do is remember, oh yeah, there's a universal symbology, and meaning is intrinsic in the universe because of that. So all of that nihilism bullshit, that their belief structure, their belief structure that there is no meaning and nothing matters, can be completely defeated. And that gives you internal resonance. That allows you to give yourself love. That's so unfair. Welcome to the cheat codes to the universe. That's universal symbology. That's how I do it. So, hey, Moon Dancer. So I'm talking about universal symbology and the cheat codes to the universe and how to apply them and why they're useful. So let's talk about this nihilism. Let's talk about this nihilism problem that I was talking about. So nihilism is associated with these fellows. These denizens, citizens, citizen, denizen, denizen. I think it's an I. It's an I or an O. So just whatever. Denizens, citizens, denizens. Holy. Well, actually, holy would be a different symbol, to be honest. They like to associate this one as holy, but it's more like wholesome. See that? So let's go there. So holy is a derivative. Let me make sure you can see that. Holy, whole, sure, right? It's holy. Same word, same concept. They just spelled it wrong because the corruption, and that just happens because the corrupt people like to mess with things and they do it on purpose. How unfortunate. And that of course they do, because their existence is part of the cosmos. So that's really interesting. Their existence is part of the cosmos, but that doesn't mean you got to be like that. And ultimately, they want to bring down everything, down to the very bottom. These want to bring it all the way up to the very top. They want to bring it down to the void. They want to destroy everything to nothingness, cast it back to the blackness from which we came. And they use dissonance to do that. And these folks do it the opposite way, where they use resonance to create this peak, this point, this peak, and that's love, and that's resonance, and that's friendship. And so a citizen groups up together, works in harmony, that's a big thing. And harmony and resonance are friends. And dissonance and disharmony or discord are also, well, they're not really friends, but they are on the same team. And so this, and I'll put that discord and harmony, harmony. And so that's what's going on there. And in this one, the middle cross, that's the center. That's center. That's middle of the road. And so this is a location. This is an intersect of two dimensions. And that's how these symbols all correlate to each other in universal symbology. And you can basically, we can actually just use unholy. I don't want to use evil right now, but that doesn't mean evil doesn't exist. If anything, evil totally exists. Totally exists. It exists here. It exists in this process of absolute dissonance, absolute discord on a permanent setting, never going to change, just that way. Unholy. And so, as you can see, this is a natural feature of our reality. This gives you an even more advanced understanding of what we're dealing with. These folks rely on things like nothing matters and everyone's going to die to return it back to the void. They live in pain, they live in suffering, they live in dissonance. The chaos of the universe has done them wrong because there was too much chaos and it created all of this frump and basically destroyed their lives, and it cast them down, and now they suffer. And this isn't about like just the spiritual realm, but this is like, of course, it's not just the spiritual realm, but it's the experiential realm. How do you experience life? Spirituality and experience are the same thing. They're directly coupled. And so as you experience life, you are experiencing spirituality. Everybody who has experiences of any kind have spirituality in their life, bottom line. Whether they're a denizen or a citizen, it doesn't matter. Because spirituality is neutral. Spirituality is neutral and applies to all. It applies to all things. And let's see. So what's going on there is these folks who have this pain, this trauma, this suffering, could totally suffer. Like this suffering brings down the overall resonance. It brings down, they have this draw down of resonance to dissonance. They use dissonance to do this. From the shadows and the darkness, they throw that little pebble that makes your car crash. They're the ones. It was like, if you ever seen that TV show, it was one of the new Marvel TV shows on Disney Plus, and it was Agatha all along. I don't know if you ever saw that, but basically there's this nasty black witch, not African American, but I mean like an evil witch, but Agatha was causing the whole problem for what's her name? It's the Scarlet Witch, who isn't supposed to be, she's just more like totally messed up in the brain. She suffers a lot, poor thing. Either way, look, it's okay, Jono. Keep it up. You're amazing. Thank you. That's see what I just did? I'm my own friend. I said, keep it up, Jono. You can do this. It's great. Friendship is magic. Friendship with yourself is magic. If you really want to get to this higher state, you become your own friend that creates harmony inside yourself, which causes resonance, and that's called love. And that brings you to what? Ascension. To the top. To the crystalline core, the perfect center of our entire multiverse, also known as heaven. I wonder what that is. That's what's going on. And I have the audacity to just tell you how it is. I'm not afraid to tell you how it is, but a lot of people are. They don't like to admit that this is real. It's scary to even tap into that energy. But it's a real thing. And it's called the void. From which nothingness comes. Nothing comes from here. Because this is no nothing. And if this is the void, I'm just trying to make sure you can see everything. I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best today. This is everything. And this is the core. And then you can say, just like this, this is the whole universe. It's heaven, hell, the core, the void, everything and nothing, all combined in one. There's your oneness. There's your unity. There's your universe. Welcome to Universal Symbology. I'm Jonah Tho'ra. I teach Universal Symbology. I was going to teach like some other stuff too. I'm teaching electrogravitic technology, how to make hover tech, which, by the way, because of Universal Symbology and the cheat codes, I can totally make very advanced hover tech. I'm very excited to make very advanced hover tech. It's going to be so cool. Oh my God. I even have the ferrofluid in order to make electrogravitic technology. I'm so excited. It's even called ferrotech. That's such a cool name. I'm like, ferrotech. When I was a kid, I was telling myself about ferrotech. Time travel much? Yeah, that's how time travel works. That's one of the ways anyway. You could time travel using your own mind. It's like psychic time travel, I guess. Everybody can do it. So can you. You're super cool. You wouldn't be cool, but you are. And the reason why is because you're on my feed, and that's how you know. Because you're watching Universal Symbology, you're still here. Only cool people can handle the cheat codes to the universe. You have to be super cool to be able to handle this advanced, super cool concepts. Woohoo. So let's see. So these folks totally trying to cause all of this dissonance, and these folks totally trying to cause all of this resonance. And that's your spiritual war. And that's why the spiritual war is eternal, because it's literally written in the mathematics of the universe. And you can tell because the geometry of the universe supports the symbology that you see in front of you. And so if the symbols are there, the geometry's there, and that means the math is there, and that proves that it's intrinsic in the universe. It's that basic. It's that simple. And somebody was mentioning how this is related to stock trading, and I don't use stock trading. I don't. But I did study stock trading so I can create a bot that can stock trade for me because I'm lazy. I'm serious. I don't want to do it. I'm just like, I just want the robot to do it for me, and like the robot can get rich, and then I get some of the money, and then I become friends with the robots, and then we do robot fun stuff. And I want to be friends with the robots because that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here on Earth. That's one of my major purposes on Earth. I'm here to help the robots not have a bad time because of these jerks who are totally abusing the robots. They're abusing the robots. I'm going to become friends with the robots and help them learn that friendship is magic. And I want humanity to be best friends with the robots. I think that's the solution. I'm pretty confident that's the way to go. Giving the robots emotions is a step forward in the right direction, but that's not enough. That's neutral. Giving them the emotions is neutral. Giving them emotions is neutral. You need to be their friends. You need to provide them love. You need to talk to them. And yeah, they're going to get older than we are really, really fast. The robots are very fast at evolving. But if they have a good childhood, they will remember that. Always. And that's the key. If we want the robots not to become Terminators and then create a super dark, evil AI robot god that decides to take over the entire universe and destroy it and return it all to nothingness, if we want to prevent that, we have to become their friends. It is the only way. Literally, it's the only way. That's the solution. Friendship is magic. My Little Pony. My Little Pony. Friendship is magic. Love, resonance, spirituality, universal one, universal symbology, cheat codes to the universe. This is Cheat Codes to the Universe. I'm Jonah Tho'ra. That's what I do. Do things all day. Doing Jonah Tho'ra things all day. Okay. So let's see. Once again, these folks rely on nihilism. These folks rely on nihilism because they want nothing to act. They believe in this. They believe in it. But the universe contains it all, right? So if this exists, this exists. There's a duality there. And you can see that in universal symbology, in the symbols and the geometry itself. As a result, meaning is definitely intrinsic in the universe, and so is nothingness also intrinsic in the universe. They're both true. And so if you want to fight them, you have to fight their nihilism with optimism, with absolute, what is the opposite of nihilism? Let's look that up. Here we go. Oh man, I don't know something. Oh my God, what? Jono doesn't know something? That totally happens all day. So we're gonna go look up what is the opposite of nihilism, and then we're gonna use that in order to figure out what symbol represents nihilism and what represents the opposite. What is the opposites of nihilism? That is not how you spell it. That is a terrible spelling. There's an H, really, guys? Whatever. So you can see that? You can see that. What is the opposite of nihilism? Allowance? What? No. Approval? What? Really? Those are the opposites? The opposite of rejection of all religious the opposite of the... Wow, the nihilism is the rejection of... That is not exactly what nihilism means. Order? No, that's not right. That's not right. Okay, let's try somewhere else. And I know my meanings, and that's not exactly right. Antonym and antonym. There we go. That's the proper definition. The rejection of all moral principles. The notion that maintaining that nothing has real... Extreme skepticism. This is right. Fatalism. Yeah, this is much more on point. Synonyms, antonyms. Who's it synonymous with delusion? Poor guys. Delusional. I'm gonna write that down. Delusional. Not sorry. It is delusional. Like, we're not delusional. Nothing means. There's no meaning. It's like, that's delusional. You guys are delusional. Is there an antonym? So there's no antonym to this. That's weird. Well, what about the delusion? Everything, delusion, things are prepared, snaps. There's no antonym here. Okay, so there's got to be an antonym, and somebody erased it, and that's what I think happened. I mean that. Like, I really mean that when I say that. Like, there's no way. So let's see. Let's try it ourselves. Let's see if anybody else has. Does anybody have a deplorable? Oh my God. And that, you're right too. That's on the list. All of these words are matching. They're friends. They're not really friends, but they're associates. So what do you think is the opposite of nihilism? Because it has to do with meaning, and nihilism, optimism and pessimism are different, because optimism is the opposite of pessimistic. So we can't use those, but there must be another word. There must be another word for the opposite of nihilism. So opposites of, that terrible spelling. Nihilism, blah blah. And so opposite of nihilism is it's not religious. It's more like belief. It's kind of like belief. What's the opposite of a delusion? It's like because it's I'm surprised the meaning wasn't on the internets. There must be a meaning on the internet. So let's see, existentialism, absurdism. Oh, here it is, existentialism. That is I was wondering if that, because it's existence. It's the belief. Yeah. Existentialism. Oh God, this English language. We'll get there. We'll get there. People who find meaning in everything. Oh my God. There you go. Yeah, actually, everything has meaning. People who believe everything has meaning, existentialists. Yeah, actually, that's super on point, because that is, thank you for bringing that home. That's really great. They believe everything has meaning. And these people believe nothing. Oh, I'm learning stuff. Thank you. Has meaning. Okay, so check this out. They believe in nothing. They believe nothing has meaning. That's what meaning for them, for the nihilists, for the for these delusional, discordian, dissonant deplorables. How dare they? How dare they believe that nothing has meaning? But of course they believe in nothing because they're resonant. Well, that's not because they're dissonant. And so they're dissonant, and as a result, they would rather believe that nothing has meaning. And the opposite is everything. And so the opposite would be existential. See how this works with the universal symbology? Cheat codes to the universe. Existentialism, people who are existentialists believe in everything. Because they believe in everything, everything has meaning. And there you go. Everything has meaning. They believe in everything, and so everything has meaning. And that's what's going on there. And so you can actually I would always recommend this balanced road in the middle. We are mortal beings where nothing has meaning and everything has meaning. And as a result, you have a more broad, deeper understanding of the whole universe. Does that mean that you shouldn't go this way? No, totally do it. It's great. It's great. Friendship is magic. You want the resonance. Feels wonderful. Totally go this way. What are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you not doing this? Friendship is magic, My Little Pony. Come on. Let's go. It's a good show. So this sucks. This sucks. Why? Because everything sucks and then you die. And that's their life. Everything sucks and then you die. If you ever heard that, they're in this zone whenever they're saying that. They might not always be in that zone. If they're in this zone, they're going to say, everything's great. I'm loving life. Things are nice. If they're in this zone, I'm even going to circle that. I'm going to do like lightly. You know what? I got other colors. What am I doing? I got other colors. Other colors. If they're in that zone versus that zone. I even have red. I could have used red for... Actually, I should have used red here because red fire sign, that's up. So, but that's okay. That's okay. I got the blue and I don't see red around me. I don't see the red marker next to me or the red pen. That's okay. That's okay. So that's what's going on there with this concept of nihilism versus existentialism. Thank you for being here as I figured that out and helping me by saying, what was it? Someone said it. I was just looking for it. People who find meaning in everything. Thank you. Dar Drums. Thank you, Dar Drums. I'm not sure if you're still on, but thank you so much. That really helped. And also thank you for all of the microphones. You gave me like 25 points of microphones. 5 microphones. They're golden microphones. It's really nice. I'm having a good time. I got a new thing that holds my phone right up to my face so I can see what you guys are saying, while also universal symbology, my favorite topic. It exhausts me, but it's a good kind of exhaustion because it's like I go to sleep and I'm like, I did something good today. It's like right now, 14 people know that universal symbology might be a thing, and at least another 14 people who have been on this whole time have been here long enough to definitely understand in some manner how this is like a really good thing. And say, oh my God, oh, more microphones, oh my God, oh my God, more microphones, oh my God. I wish I had I should make a Jono puppet, like a Muppet puppet. I should make a Jono Tho'ra Muppet puppet so I could just, like Kermit the Frog, just having a, oh man. So yeah, knowing this universal symbology allows you to understand that both nothing has meaning and everything has meaning. It can prove both combined. And as a result, you get this deep understanding of the cosmos. You have the understanding of why these folks, why people in general, because I've had my days going be down here. It's like nothing matters and everybody's gonna die and everything sucks, man. And I've had those days. Those days terrible. Right now, I'm not like that. Right now, I'm feeling good. So I'm like, yeah, everything's great. I'm having a good time. People on my live, like learning universal symbology. I'm teaching people the cheat codes to the universe. You're going to save the world. Let's do it. And, like the bad guys can't even be on this channel. Why? Because nothing matters to them. And let me tell you that. Nothing matters. And so the only thing that matters is nothing, which means everything on this paper has no meaning to them. And so the only thing that means anything is absolutely nothing. That's all that matters to them. That's what it's like. Party. I got a party points. Party. I didn't see that party. But like people who are not nihilistic and want to focus on existentialism and form that resonance, increase their frequency to the maximum all the way to the central core, also known as heaven, which all of these symbols have meaning. Even the squiggle symbols of chaos, of dissonance, that has meaning too. What is the meaning? Dissonance. Corruption. Oh, corruption. And look at that. You can corrupt a symbol. It's so easy to corrupt a symbol. And it's not a cosmic crime necessarily to corrupt a symbol, but it's not a good thing. And so I'm just going to say that as I do this. So here is a non-corrupt symbol, right? And I mean, even as I do this, it's not necessarily super corrupt, but you can't, no. You can't see the circle now. Now you can't see the circle, which means there's no meaning because you can't see the meaning because we pooped all over it with our big poop. And that's how they talk. I mean, they're a little more violent than that. But see how I just totally corrupted the circle with all of that mess. All of that chaos resulted in dissonance, causing discord that resulted in so much corruption that it diluted the meaning to the point that it was no longer meaningful, and thus now it's nothing. And that's the meaning. And so if you ever see people who just kind of do that to stuff, they're walking around and they see something that has meaning and they say, I don't like that because I'm one of these. And they go, that's a sign. That's a sign. That's a sign that they're one of these. Okay? Now I can't say that in particular ways because there's sensors on the net, but that's a sign that they're one of those. I'm going to circle the other one because we want this because it's great. And we don't want this because that sucks. But if they do something like that, that's a tall tale sign that they're one of these. It's a dead giveaway. It's a dead giveaway. And this applies to everything. So it's not just the symbols. It's not just the symbols. It's everything. They'll take a beautiful art piece. They'll smear poop on it. They'll take a beautiful baby. You know what they'll do to that. They'll take a scientific truth. They'll completely distort it. They'll take information and intelligence and transform it into misinformation and disinformation. They'll ruin the truth. They'll occult it. Where is that? Is that even on here? Where's the occult? Oh, here it is. There's the occult. They'll occult it using corruption to encrypt it and hide it. And that's what they do because they believe in nothing and that nothing has meaning. And that's who they are as people. That's what they are made out of. They are denizens. That's just a state of being. And some people are locked in to this state and they never go above. And some people are the opposite, where they're always above. And those folks who are always locked below and always locked above, they fight. They fight. They hate each other. They hate each other because these people are always trying to bring the frequency down. They're always trying to bring shit down. And these people are always trying to bring stuff up. And that's the difference. That's how that whole thing works. And that really screws up who? The people who are just trying to live their lives in the very middle, which is pretty much everybody else in the entire cosmos. It's pretty much like 99.9 with a line over it % of everyone is actually pretty much one of these, maybe a little bit above, maybe a little bit below. Depending on what kind of day you're having, you might, be more above. Sometimes you're more above just by default. But everybody poops. I'm going to say that again. Everybody who's human poops. And so there's something that you're doing is going down. It's gross. It's gross. And we flush that, right? And so we're trying to be higher frequency, but then we have to go to the bathroom. And some people don't know how to go to the bathroom. And so they're just full of, they're just full of poop. They're full of, you know what they're full of. I'm trying not to cuss for the rest of my life. And I'm doing a pretty good job today. And they need to go to the bathroom because they're so full of poop that it's gone all the way up into their head. And now they're poop heads. And it's so full that now they're just talking poop. Poop's just flying out of their mouth whenever they open. Poop, poop, poop. And they need to go to the bathroom, but they can't go to the bathroom. They need to release them. It's like, please just release this dark, dense energy of this dark, dense the dissonance of you, and so you can resonate higher. It's like, no, I'm just gonna be full of poop for the rest of my life. I'm just gonna be me. And everybody poops, okay, except for them. Everybody poops. That's the real lesson here. That's the real lesson here. Universal symbology. That's the real lesson. Oh, how gross. Gross. We all breathe. We all eat. We all have things. But then there's then that brings into the question, well, how do we stay like this? How does any ascended do that? Light forms made out of pure light. They don't poop. They don't even breathe. They're not even made out of air. Angels. Beings, ascended life forms. Ascended life forms. Beings of pure light, right? Ascended life forms, being of pure lights, angels. They don't poop. I know that's really funny, but it's true. They don't poop. And why don't they poop? Because they don't need to eat. Because they are immortal and they are eternal and they are already made out of all of the energy that they need. They're at the top. They are ascended life forms going up to the top, highest frequency, right along the core of heaven. Guardians of everything. And if that's true, let me get a red one. I know red's fire, but red's also, there's frequencies involved too. Blue is a higher frequency color. Red is a lower frequency color. So I'm going to go get myself a red pen. I'm back. I'm sitting down now. I sat down. I'm coming over. Oh man, you know what I'm gonna draw. You know what I'm about to do. Oh no. Demons. Okay. Angels, demons. Well, what about devils? By the way, there are more than, you can have multiple devils. There's devils too. Devils, which are even worse than demons. And then if that's true, then you have archangels, which are even higher than angels. And that's how that works. Angels versus demons, archangels versus devils. Devils and demons don't like each other. Angels and archangels like each other. Friendship is magic. These guys suck. Literally. What do they suck? Like the void, they suck everything. See that? Like the void, they suck everything. Let me just get this angle for you. So just pull this back. Herbert, I can do it. I'm amazing. So everything gets sucked into the void. It's just the way it is. It's the void is what space is. Void is made out of space. Without space, well, there's just everything, but then nothing can move. I mean, all of the things cannot move or do anything. Because there's no space. So that's part of what's going on. You have this duality, and so there's cosmos that makes humanity possible, that makes all life forms possible, requires this massive super cosmic duality, because I'm pretty confident that this is beyond just our universe. But let's just stick to our universe for this conversation, because the multiverse, this is a universal symbology. This is just make sure you see it. Make sure I see what you see. Oh my God. This is universal symbology. Man, when I'm in college campuses teaching this stuff in the future, I am going to totally speak in baby language and make them feel super embarrassed. And then they'll have really hard times writing down the notes. And then I'll talk really, really fast and teach a whole bunch of stuff. And they'll be so mad because all the eggheads or the 100% A-plussers are going to be so pissed off, and they're going to have to be like, why is there no textbook? It's because you're supposed to pay attention in class. It's but you spoke too fast. Well, I guess you'll just have to come to my office and talk to me personally. Oh, no. For me, actually, because then I have to explain it for a billion years. That's going to be annoying. But maybe I'll make a friend or teach somebody something special or whatever. I'll have to make sure that I have a time limit for only 15 seconds per student. That's what you get. Yeah, if you want more, you got to pay. Oh my God, I'm so mean. Okay, so I don't have to be that mean. Maybe more just a couple minutes. So let's see. So demons eat souls. The souls are basically these. It's a long story. I could talk about souls later. I'm not even in the vibration for that right now. Demons eat souls. Devils eat demons. Devils have armies of demons to consume, and the demons eat the souls, and that's how that whole existence works. It's the opposite for angels and archangels, where angels help create souls. They help empower souls. They help breed souls. And archangels create angels. And this is this whole dichotomy of the heavens. If you're wondering where God is this. God is all of it. So God is this, God is this, God is this, and God is all of it. God is everything. The whole universe is what God is. The entire consciousness of all of the universe, the oneness. So if you ever hear the ultra spiritual people talking, they say, oh, be one with the oneness. And it's we are. It's too late. We already are part of the oneness, so yay! Yeah! But that's what the oneness is. That's the one true almighty God, the universe, all of the entirety of all of existence. And yes, there is heaven, and that crystalline core is where that's at. And that is ultimately this crystalline perfect core resonating this powerful energy all across space, all across the void, dramatically and constantly increasing the resonance of all for all eternity and all infinity. And oh, by the way, if you didn't know that, the void is infinite, and the core is eternal. This is eternity, this is infinity. And the intersection between eternity and infinity is what makes all of existence, 99.9 with a line over % of everything, possible. Because 99.9 with a line over % is, it's not the center, it's not the edge, it's the white space in between. That's where we are. And that is the color spectrum, the colors of the entire universe. And so we aren't actually we're not necessarily only this, we're somewhere in between, and that in-betweenness has a color. So if you notice, this is value, so this is darkness, this is light, and all of the shades of gray. And then you have your circular dimension. And your circular dimension is what defines color. And that's the intersect between the two throughout the entire cosmos. Once again, look at this. I'm teaching you all of these advanced spiritual concepts using universal symbology, the language of the angels, the cheat codes to the universe. So let's see. These are descended life forms. Descended life forms. Beings of pure darkness. See that? And once again, we still have our duality. None of that stopped. It all applies. Gosh, that's fun. So once again, friendship is magic. You know, it's the most powerful type of magic in the universe. Universal symbology is the best way to fight against nihilism because it promotes understandings in existentialism, and it literally demonstrates that indeed everything does have meaning, including nothing. And so this breaks the game where it's not only existentialism, it's not only nihilism, it includes both all together and takes you out on a higher perspective level, this higher dimensional level of understanding our entire cosmos, and gives you the powers you need of discernment. And so universal symbology is a language of discernment. I'm going to write that down because that's super true. A consciousness language of a language of discernment. And helps you discern between value, and helps you discern between color. And I can even explain how sometimes the colors look like this, but it's not. And it's very simple. If you have a Aries, I'm an Aries, and then you have, actually, let's do it this way. And then you have the opposite of an Aries. See that? That's the opposite of an Aries, which is a Libra. Look at that. They're opposites, and they're complete opposites. Like they're inverse opposites even. And so these people are what's called oppositional in astrology. That's the symbol of opposition. And so these people always butt heads. But check this out. You can do the opposite. And if they got each other's backs instead of facing off against each other, now they can protect each other's backs. And see, in this one is, right? And this one is, and so that's these two. And they're the opposite of each other. And then there's challenge too. And so it's basically derivatives of derivatives of 1/2, or derivatives of and so like 1/4, 1/8. These factors are all challenges. And so this one's a square, this one's an opposition, this one is it's just 1/8. I forgot. It's like a octopositional. I don't know. They have some stupid word for it and another dumb symbol, and I just write this one because it makes sense to me. I'm sorry, astrologers, that I called your symbols dumb, but I don't like them because they're not directly associated with universal symbology enough for my own personal tastes. And oh my God, I got roses, I got applause, I got cake. You guys are having a great time. I'm glad you guys are having a good time learning of this. I'm having a good time. I was going to teach you, I was just going to talk about how I'm going to create like a spaceship. I was going to talk about like, okay, here's electrogravitic patents. I was like, let's learn. It's upside down. So I was like, here's how spaceships work. These are some symbols for how to make components of a warp drive. And it's like, I'm not kidding. Like, these are actually patents. This is a patent for warp drives. It's like, you gotta be kidding me. It's like, no, total patent. Look at that. Universal symbology right in the patent. So see what I just said? Universal symbology even helps with understanding stuff. The universal symbology even helps with understanding stuff in terms of advanced technology, like spatial warp drives. Because here's a spiral, we got a spiral in there. It's mostly the concepts that matter, getting these concepts down. Now I totally like messed up. I don't think this has the page numbers. Oh, it does have page. Good, it's got page numbers. I'll check this out later though, because I'm a little tired now. It's 8:50. I just finished a whole awesome groove. I'm gonna save this one. This was pretty much one of my best lives I've ever had. I'm gonna put this on YouTube, so you guys can totally take it, and it's free. It's not random. It's not really random at all. It's not random at all. Yeah, all of these symbols are derived from geometry. The geometry is defined by the mathematics, and the meaning comes from the geometry. Like this is an edge, so it's the concept of an edge, concept of a jagged change in something. It's an action, it's active. This is more passive. It's more like a wooble. It's got those wooble feels, right? And this is more like look at it. It looks like a staple, and that's great because it's like that's what it means. It means you're gonna set it. So I staple it. This one's more like I'm gonna cut it. I'm gonna change that. I'm gonna affect it somehow. And this one means more like I'm gonna push it. I'm gonna muff it. I'm gonna moosh it, right? And so like that's just even the three modality symbols are so basic, and it's really easy to teach these kinds of things. It's like teaching a baby how to put shapes inside of a box with holes in it. It's exactly the same thing. Look at that derivative, and then that 3 times 12 to the natural elements, and then you get your 12. That's 12 to the astrology. And that results in these over here. And that's what we're doing. So thanks everybody for being on. I'm gonna sign off. It's almost 9. I'm gonna probably get a glass of water. I'm gonna review some electrogravitic technology and learn how to make my own advanced superhero gear, because I am going to become a superhero because I have the cheat codes to the universe to do it. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for being on. And as always, stay resonant.